as a song until I kind of redid the rhythm on it a little bit, and I changed it up a little bit, and I came back to him and I said, how about if we do it like this? And I just broke it out. He's like, yeah, that'd be great if Nirvana was still alive. No. Won't you rest in peace? Won't you let me get some sleep? Won't you? Buried in cold 10 foot deep. I can lay my body down, but I can't get no relief. Something like, let me rest in peace. Just a side note on that, it's also my favorite episode for a different reason. Because when Josh told us all we were doing a musical, and he gave us this little cassette, and it was him and his wife on the piano, barely singing. And the whole cast the next day, they were just like, did you get the tape? In the name of God, is this show becoming live? And then like Tony Head and I, we kind of calmed down because we were already singing professionally. So we were like, well, I'll deal with it. We'll make it work. It's okay. But for the rest of the cast, especially Sarah, she didn't sign on to be a musical actress. It was like asking her to juggle fish, you know? Like there's like 1,000 ways she's going to make a fool out of herself in front of the whole world. And there's only one that she's not. And so everybody was just terrified, fighting it and kicking and screaming, and Josh just wouldn't let anybody out of it. And then he released, the first thing he filmed was the dance between Anya and Nick, and it would cut really well, so we went from like abject terror to exaltation, like we can do this. And I was never more proud of the cast, who at some point realized they weren't going to get out of it, stopped whining, got to work, and did something that they weren't trained for. Yeah.
I have two questions, if that's okay. First one. Last time I heard you speak was a couple of years ago in Berlin, I think just before Ghost of the Robot split up, and you kind of hinted on there being a slight chance that there might be a short television movie about Spike and some other characters. There were still plans about that, and you kind of hinted on, well, that's probably going to happen. Is there even still talk about that? Because it's been a few years.
No, there's not talk anymore. No. You know, Josh called me up. The reason I said that was he had called me up and said, do you want to do a Spike TV movie? And I said, yeah, that'd be great. What do you got? What's your ideas? And he told me he just didn't have any ideas, but he had a line from a movie, from Lord of the Rings. And I was like, well, okay, what's the line? And he's like, it's when Aragorn is going out to battle, and he says, I don't have hope for myself. And I was like, okay, that's really serious.
That's taking you back to the last episode of Angel.
Wow, yeah. And I said, well, how about, I have a different idea, Joss. And I said, how about if, because I always thought Spike needed to go out and accomplish one thing for himself. I always thought that he was kind of blown by fate a lot. And I wanted him to identify something that he wanted, take action, get it, and then win. But I always knew that if that was a big triumph, it wouldn't seem like Spike anymore. So I had this story where Spike meets a girl, a woman, falls in love, but is not brave enough to tell her who he really is as a vampire. So it's really funny to see him kind of try to cover it up, right? She finally finds out and just dumps him cold. Because you're evil, you're ugly, you're vicious, get away from me. So he loses the girl. There's an attack on the town, and the monster it seems to be kind of like his size, so he goes up the way and it's all heroic, and then as soon as he throws a punch, the monster unfolds and it's like 20 feet tall. Running away from the monster, going, I need a librarian. And so he gets his butt kicked by the monster and doesn't do any good on the monster at all. But at the end of the story, he finds a way to get a new pair of shoes without hurting anybody, without lying about it, and without paying for it, and without having to get a job.
Sounds like a fun script.
I think so. I always thought it would be kind of funny to see Spike trying to fit into the human world. Like, he can't steal it anymore, but he's not going to get a job. So how does he get food, and how does he get a new pair of shoes? And that was another joke, because like for years, I only had those one pair of boots, and they wouldn't replace them. So, like, after a while, the soles were flopping around so much it was hard to fight. So I thought I'd put that in there.
I'm glad I asked that question. The second one is about Dragon Ball Z, because the movie hasn't been out for very long. I think since April 9th or something like that. What was the response on it? Not just from the audience, but also for you personally, because again, silicone on your face, there must have been a lot of hours in makeup. It takes you back to Spike, I guess.
first time I did the makeup, it took 14 hours. And it was nobody's fault but mine, because I was a fan of the anime. And I wanted it to be like the anime. And in the anime, Lord Piccolo is old. He's decrepit and old, and he's mad about that. And there was a lot of talk about not making him so old. And I really thought that was a mistake, so I kept saying to the makeup artist, make me older, more lines. And he's like, you look like a kabuki artist. And I'm like, I don't care. And then after 14 hours, he literally just threw his brush down and hit me upside the head. Bam! Walked out of the trailer. I'm out! So he quit. Yeah. we got Ed French in, and he did it in 4 hours. But it was a real running battle about me wanting to be green and old. And those were two things I was willing to get fired over. So I finally I remember telling Ed was like, they told you not to do the green. They told you not to be so old. And I'm like, they're not out here, Ed. They're not out here in Durango, Mexico. They're back up in America. If they really care, they'd be right here. So now they're going to read that on some site. Now I'm fired.